everything happens for a reason. Whatever it is, good or bad, maybe it's not according to our own plans, but it happens for a reason. And all that happens because God wants you to become the best version of you.
Hello students, I'm Parvez and welcome to my another course on building backend REST API using Python and Django REST framework. So this course is divided into different lessons. We are going to start from the fundamental concepts on Django REST framework, and after that we are going to build a practical project, a practical blog API project with session authentication and also token authentication, and also we will have different authentication mechanisms. So now let's check that what we are going to build. This is the simple project that we are going to build. We are going to build our backend REST API using Django REST framework, and also we are going to deploy that to Heroku. You can see that now that our REST API is in the Heroku. So right now you can see that authentication credentials were not provided because we cannot access the API articles. And if I log in, so I can log in now. Through login I can access the, so okay, now I can give the username and also my password, and after that I can just click on login. So now I can access all the articles. Okay, so right now also you can create another article. So for example from here, this is for testing, and we can just add a description and post. You can see that's added. This is for testing, and this is the author. You can see we have ID4. This is the Slug. We have dynamic Slug. This is the author. This is the title, description, and this is the publish date. Now these are the author, Slug, the ID, and the publish date. These are added automatically. And if I go to the API root and if I go to here, you can see that now we have ID4. This is for testing. Okay, so now you can see that we are logged in as this user. And you can see that this article is not added by this user. Now if I want to, so for example, if I want to access this user article, now my article, so because I'm logged in, I can just access the article through the Slack, and now I can access this. So you can see you can delete the article, also you can update the article. From here you can just say, for example, update it, and if I put this, you can see that that is updated. For example, if I check the article, or if I access the article that's not added by this user, for example, this is added by this author is new user. But if I want to access this through the Slack, you will see that I cannot delete or update this. So you can see, I can see the article, so the ID, the Slack, the author, the title, description, the publish date, but I cannot delete or access that because I have a custom permission and I don't have right to do this. Okay. Also, we have a token-based authentication. For example, if I go to my admin panel, so I have an administration panel. So first, let me show you. Also, you can you have a registration. You can just register a new user. Now, let me just show you that how you can register a new user to your system. So now I can just go to the DGRestart, and from here you can just create a new user. For example, test3, and we can just give the email address at gmail.com. We can just give the password like this, and I can just so now post. Okay, so now that's created, and we have a token in here. Now if I log in through my administration panel, and let's just log in. Okay, so see, sorry. Okay, so we need to sign out. Now we can just log in, okay, because we were logged in through that user. Okay, so now let's just log in. Okay, now we are logged in. If I go to the tokens, you can see that we have the test3. It was yeah, now this is the token. Now for example, if you use the Postman, and for example if I want to access the API articles, so let me just show you. So API articles, so API articles. So for example, if I use this through the Postman, and if I get this, you will see that I am receiving that the authentication credentials were not provided. But if I, for example, get the token from here, so for example, this is the token. Okay, so we are on this page, so let me close this window, and we are in here. So you can just copy this and in here. So let's just go to the headers and I can just say authorization token, and I can paste the token, send. I can get all the articles. So if I uncheck this, if I send, credentials authentication were not provided. If I check this, you can see that we can access all articles that we have. Also, we can post the articles. If I if I add a wrong token, and if I send this, you can see that invalid token. Now let's talk about the course requirements. In this course, we are using Django REST framework. Now, Django REST framework is a Python library. To work with Django REST framework and build REST APIs in Python, you need to download Python. So you can just go to the python.org, and from the downloads, you can download that. And I'm using Python 3.9. Also for the IDEs, I'm using PyCharm IDE, and also for the testing of the APIs, we are using Postman. So now let's get started, and this will be a practical project, a practical blog API project we are going to build, and let's get started.
Everything that I need to get back up, I have in me. If I don't have what I need, I can go get it. Once I figured that out, the world was like my playground.
In this lesson, we're going to have a simple introduction to Django and Django REST framework, and also we will talk about the installation process of Django. But before that, let's talk about Django. Now, what is Django? So Django is a Python web framework. You can use Django for full stack web development or for building just backend REST API. Now, for the full stack web development, it means that you can use Django as a front end and also backend. You can build your backend and also front end in just one library like Django. And also for the building backend REST APIs, for example, you can build your backend REST API using Django, and after that you can integrate that with any other front-end frameworks like Vue.js or libraries like React.js or mobile front-end like React Native. So now let's talk about the RESTful APIs. What is RESTful APIs? Now, a RESTful API acts as a translator between two machines communicating over a web service. If you're familiar with the concept of API, this is just like an API, but it is working on a RESTful web service. And the API is used by two applications trying to communicate with each other over a network or internet. Web developers program REST APIs that the server can receive data from applications. These applications can be web apps, Android apps, or iOS apps. RESTful APIs return JSON files which can be interpreted by a variety of the devices. Now let's talk about the Django REST framework. So what's Django REST framework? Now Django REST framework is a powerful and flexible toolkit for building web APIs. Some reasons you might want to use REST framework. Now the web browsable API is a huge usability win for the developers because Django REST framework has a web browsable API. We will talk about this. Also, it has authentication policies, including package for OAuth 1A and also OAuth 2. Serializations that supports both ORM, or we can say object relational mapper, and non-ORM data sources. Customizable all the way down. Just use regular function-based views if you don't need more powerful features. Extensive documentation and great community support. Also used and trusted by internationally recognized companies including Mozilla, Red Hat, Heroku, and Eventbrite. So now let's learn that how we can install the Django REST framework. So now I'm using PyCharm IDE for my project. So if you don't have, you can just download PyCharm IDE from the jetbrains.com website. There are two versions, professional version and also community edition. Professional is a paid edition, but you can download the community edition. It's completely free. I already have downloaded. And after that, I have created a project with a virtual environment. Now, you can just, now the virtual environment is created by default. If you want by PyCharm ID, for example, you can just click on File, New Project, and from here you can just give your name of the project and the location of the project, and after that if you want to create the virtual environment, you can just use this. Also, I'm using Python 3.9 and I'm using this with Django 4. And after that, you can just click on create. Your project will be created. So this is my project and this is my virtual env. So now the first thing is that I need to open terminal, so I can just open that from here, and we need to install Django. Now before installing of Django REST framework, we need to install Django, because Django REST framework is related to Django and it works together. So I can just say pip install Django and hit enter. So let's just wait and it will install Django. So it's collecting the Django. Now Django has been installed. After that, we want to install Django REST framework. So pip install Django REST framework and hit enter. So let's just wait. Now this is a warning from the pip version. I will update that. So right now it's just downloading the Django REST framework. Okay. So after installation, now we have, if I see my libs folder, you can see I have Django 4. And also I have the latest version of Django REST framework, that's 3.13, and that's compatible with the Django 4. Now we need to create a project in Django, and after the installation, you can just use Django admin and start project. And after that, you need to give the name of the project, so whatever you want. For example, you can just name it whatever you want. You can just give it the name. For example, I can just say my API, or you can just name it. So for example, I want to just name it my API, and after that hit enter. Okay, so now the project is created, and you can see that we have my API project, and we have a bunch of files in here. Let me first describe this. So at the top we have my API. Now this is the project directory, which consists of these files. We have a init.py file. Now this is just an MPT file, and this is a Python file to allow app packages to be imported from other directories. Now this init.py file, it's not a Django specific file, it's generic file used in almost all Python applications. We have settings.py file. Now this indicates settings and configuration for the project, and contains initial default settings. So these are the settings we have. For example, secret key. This is the debugging. For example, if you want to deploy your project to for example, to any server, then you need to just make it to false. This is the allowed host. For example, you can add your domain name in here. And these are the installed apps by default for the Django. For example, it has admin, auth, sessions, messages. These are the middlewares that we have, and these are created by default. And this is the template section. For example, if you want to use Django as a full stack, for example, you want to also build your front end in Django, then this is the place that you can define your, for example, templates in here. And also this is the database section, and by default up in here you can see, now by default we will use SQLite 3 database, but we will talk later. So by default you can see that Django is using SQLite 3 database. Okay, and but this is the language code. Okay, so now the project is created. This is the settings.py file. After that we have urls.py file. Now this is the place where the URL pattern lives, and each URL defined here is mapped to a view. Okay, so right now if you see, we have just admin up. So for example, if we go to the localhost/admin, it will open the administration panel. Or for example, if you want to create your own routes or URLs, you can add that in here. Okay, also we have wsgi.py file. Now this is the configuration to run your project as a web server gateway interface or WSGI application. Okay, so now the Django project is created, and after doing this, so also you can see that in here we have an important file that's called manage.py file. Now this is the command line utility used to interact with your project. It's a 10 wrapper around the Django admin.py tool. You don't need to edit this file, because it will work by default. For example, if you want to run your server, then you need to use this manage.py file. Okay. Now also, so we already have installed Django and also Django REST framework. Now when you install a new library or framework, then you need to add that in the settings.py file. So because we have installed Django REST framework, now in here we can just go here, so in the installed apps in here we can add the REST framework. So REST _ framework. Okay, So now the Django REST framework is added. Also, we need to migrate our project. So we need to just change directory to my API. And after doing that, we need to just say Python manage.py. So Python manage.py, and I can say migrate. So now it is migrating, it's creating all the tables for the data. Also, after migrating, if you've seen here, we will see that we have a db.sqlite3 database in here. Now let me just open this. So let me just open my SQLite Studio. So now I have opened my SQLite Studio. After that, I can just say add database, and from here I need to choose a database. So this is my project and this db.sqlite3. Click on OK. So now let's just wait. It will load the database. And okay, now you can see that these are the tables that are created after the migrating. If you've seen here, we have for example, username and validator like this. So you can see that in here we have admin log, admin session, Django migrations, auth user. Now this will be the place that you will create your users. So right now we don't have any user, but that is created. Okay. So now let's just run this. We want to just run this in here. As I've already said, that you can use manage.py. So Python manage.py, run server, and hit enter. So now you can see that's in the local host. If I open this, and now we have the Django 4.1, and we are using Django 4.1. Now every time it's not good to use Python manage.py run server, we want to just configure that with the PyCharm ID. So in here we can just click add configuration, add new, and we can just choose Python. And in the Python, so if I go here, Python, so I should see. Okay, yeah, we need to click on this. After that, we can just go to the Python. So there's no problem. You can use it like that. And from here, we need to choose this script that is manage.py. And in here, I can just say run server. Okay, and we can just click on apply, click on OK. So now, if I run it, now that's running. Okay, and if I run it again, now you don't need to write Python manage.py run server because that is now working, and we have the Django 4.1.
You listen to me and you listen well. Are you behind on your credit card bills? Is your landlord ready to evict you? Does your girlfriend think you're a fucking worthless loser? Good. I want you to deal with your problems by becoming rich.
In this lesson, we want to learn about the Django apps and also creating of the models. First of all, what are Django apps? Now, Django apps are used to group application functionality. If you want to work with content from a database or user interactions, you have to create and configure Django apps. A project can contain as many apps as you need. For example, if you have a project for a news website, you can create an app for sport news, another app for local news, another app for about information, another app for contact information, and create additional apps as they are needed. There is no hard rule to the number of apps in a project. You can create as many apps as you want. So now let's create our example. So now we have our Django project, and in here we want to create our first app. And first we need to change directory to my API, and after that we can just use Python manage.py, and we can use a start app. After that you need to give your app name. For example, I want to give backend. Okay, so now our backend app is created, and if you see here, we have some more files for this. Okay, we have migration folder. Now this is the database migrations. After that we have a .py file. As I've already said, that it's just an MPT file, and it allows you to import Python packages and other directories. And So the migrations, as I've already said, it contains the migrations applied to the app databases, like model classes and other things. We have admin.py file. Now this is the place that you can register your models in here. We will talk about this more. And we have apps.py file. Now we have some configuration for our main app, and this is the models.py file. Now this is the place that you can create your database tables or your database models. For example, if you want to save some data, for example, you have a website that there will be some articles that we will create a simple blog API in this course. Now we need, for example, a title, ID, title, for example, publish date or body. Now you can create your database tables and models in the models.py file. And we have tests.py file. Now this is the place that you can test your application. Also we have our views.py file. Now this is the place that you can write your view. Now we will not use this views.py file in this course because we are not building the front end in Django. We want to just build the backend in Django, backend REST API. For example, if you want to use Django as a full stack, then you can write your views in here, and this is the place that you can load your HTML files and other views. Okay. So now we have created this. Now let's create our model. Okay, as I've already said that, for example, in here I want to create an article model. So I can just say class article. Now basically models are Python classes. They are Python classes that extends from the model. Okay, so we can just say models.model. Okay. So when you want to create a model, for example, in here I have created class article, but you can create class user, user model, article model, or product model, okay, or category model. Now these are the tables or the models that will be saved in your database. Okay, right now, as I've already said, that we are using SQLite database. Now we have created our class article that it extends from models.model. After that, you need to specify the fields for that. For example, the class article will not be an empty. We need fields. For example, we need ID, title, description, Slug, publish date. Okay. Now we are going to start from the title because ID is automatically created and it's auto created, and we don't need to add ID field, but we want to start from the title. So for the article, we will have a title. After that, you need to specify the type. For example, it should be a character field, or we can say char field. Okay, and in here you need to specify the max length. For example, the max length for that field. So for the max length, I want to just give it 200. Okay, and after that you need to give the description. For example, I should have a description for this, and for this I want to use models.text field. Okay, and after that we want to add a Slack for our title. So we want to create the Slack according to the title. We will talk about this because in here we will use the signals. So we want to use a Slack field, and we want to make max length to 200, and also we want it should be so we want just the max length to 200, and also the published date. So I can just say published, and we can just use models.date time field, and we want it should be automatically added, and we can just say auto now add to true. Okay, so we have created our model, but right now we have just added this in the models.py file. We are not seeing that in our SQLite 3 database. So right now, if you see, if I refresh this, let me just refresh this, and nothing happens. We are not seeing this class article. So what we need to do after creating of the model, you need to first, now before this, what you need to do. So for right now, if I say, so first we need to do migrations. And in here, if I say Python manage.py, make migrations, and you can see that no changes detected. And that's because when we create our app, we need to register that app in the settings.py file. So we have our backend app, but we haven't added that to the settings.py file. Now, if I open this, so in here, we need to add that. So in this section, I can just say backend, okay, like this, okay. So now if I say Python manage.py make migrations, and you can see create model articles. And if I open this, so you can see that we have another file, and this is the place that the file is created. So this is the database, this is the table name article, and these are the fields. Now you can see the ID is auto created, and we haven't added this in our models.py file, but we have the title, the description, Slug, and also publish date. But right now we also haven't added this model to our database. Right now just the file is created, okay? The basic schema is created. To add this to the database, this model, this table to the database, to the SQLite database, we need to migrate that. So I can just say Python manage.py migrate. So when you create your model, first you need to do migrations, and after that you need to do migrate. So in the migrations, it will create the schema, and in the migrate, it will add that to the database. So now if I refresh this, so refresh, and yeah, backend article. So we have this, we have ID, title, description, Slug, publish date. And right now we don't have any data in here, okay? So now we have created, in this lesson, we have created our app. After that, we have created our model. Now let's talk about Django administration panel. Now there is something that's called super user that will act as an administration panel for your Django project. So now how you can create that? Okay, so now in here I can just say Python manage.py, and after that I can just say create super user. Now it will ask you from the username, what will be your username. So I want to just leave it like this. That's the username. You need to give an email address, for example, if you want. Now you need to give a password. Okay, so let me just give my password in here, password again. Okay, now super user is created. Now if you remember that, as I've already showed you in my project, so in the urls.py file, we have something that's called admin. So let me just run it again, run my project again. And if I open this, and if I go to the admin panel, now this is the place, your administration panel. Now this is the URL that we have in here, so path admin. So for example, if I add something that's not in here, I will receive an error. So for example, if I say admins, I don't have admin, and it's telling that page not found, we have just admin. So admin. Now we already have created our super user. So this is our username, and we need to give the password in here. And after that, we can just say login. So now we are logged in, and we have our users. Now this is our super users that we have created. Now if you remember, we have created our models.py file. We have a table, our models. How we can register this in this administration panel, that you can easily, for example, add article or delete article. So if you remember, I have showed you we have a file that's called admin.py file. Now this is the place that you can register your models. So for example, in here, first we need to import from .models, from this model file. We want to import article model, and after that in here I can just say admin.site.register, and I want to register my article model. Okay, so now if I save this and if I refresh this, you can see we have article model, and now we can add article. So for example, I can just give ID, title, this is title, and this is my description, and for example for the Slug, I can just say this is title, and we can just save it. Now that's saved. So right now you can see it's showing as the article object, but we want the title. So for that we can just open our models.py file, and in here I can just say __ string, and I can say return self.title. So now if I run this, we have the title. Okay, so like this you can add the title, and you can add the article. Also you can update that, or for example you can delete that. Now if I check my database in here, if I refresh this, you can see that we have the first article, and the publish date is added automatically.
To anyone in the world, however you define yourself, I promise you, if you put your mind to it and you work hard and you never give up and you do not listen to the rejection, you can achieve anything that life throws your way.
In this lesson, I want to show you that how you can create dynamic slacks. Now, to create dynamic slacks, there are different ways, but we are using signals. Now, Django includes a signal dispatcher which helps to Cobalt applications get notified when actions occur elsewhere in the framework. In a nutshell, signals allow certain senders to notify a set of receivers that some action has taken place. They are especially useful when many pieces of code may be interested in the same events. So let's create our dynamic Slack. So now this is our Django project, and in the Django project, what we want to do inside the app, backend app, we are going to create another file, Python file, and let me just call it signals. Now in the signals up in here, first we need to import some modules. So from django.db.models, we are going to .signals. So .signals, we are going to import presave. Now there are different signals that you can use. We are using presave. And from Django dispatch, we are going to import receiver. And also from .models, we are going to import article model. And from Django.utils.text, we are going to import Slugify. Okay. And after doing that, let's create our receivers. So our @receiver, and in here we can just add presave, and the sender is article model. Okay. After that, we can just hit diff add a Slack in here. We want to create this. We want to pass sender and also instance, and also we need to just add args and also keyword arguments. Okay, so coargs. And in here we don't need this. Okay, so now after that, in here we can check if instance and if we have the instance, and also if we do if not instance.slack, and if there is no Slack for the that instance. So in that case, what we want to just say Slugify, and we want to create the Slack according to the article, according to the title. So we can just say instance.title. If you see our models.py file, we have a title. We want to create the Slack according to the instance of the title. And at the end, we can just say instance.slack, and we can just make it to Slack. Okay. So now that's created. After that, we are going to open our apps.py file, and in here we can just in the class we can just say diff ready, and in the diff ready we can just say import from the backend .signals. So we want to just import from the backend we want to import signals. So we can just import backend.signals. Okay, so there is no problem for this. After doing that, now we need to open our init.py file, and in here we can just say default. So let me just open my app. Okay, so I can just say default underscore app underscore config, and I can just say backend dot apps dot, and if you see, this is the backend config, and we can add that in here. Okay, so after doing that, let's just open the terminal, and in here we want to just open the Django shell. So we can just say python manage.py shell, and after that hit enter. So now in here, first we need to import from django.contrib.auth. We are going to import get user model. Oh, sorry, we have it's django.contrib. Okay, .auth, import user model, and after that we can just say user and get. We have just one super user, so for right now we can just create that according to that, and now I can just say user dot objects dot first. I want to get the first user, and also from backend dot models we are going to import our article model, and in here I need to create an article. So article, and I can just give the title, and let me say this is my second title, and the description, this is description, and also we need to give the author. So author, and that is should be to you. Okay, hit enter. Author. Okay, so we don't have any author to this, so there is no need to add author. Okay, even let me just do the process again, because we don't have any author. Author model, so you don't need to add that. You can just directly say, for example, article, and I can just say we should see that. So I think so. Okay, so first I need to import this, and after that I need to say get user model, and after that I can just say user dot objects dot first. If I see you can see that this is the user, and now we can just say from backend import articles, and now let's create our article title, description. We have the author, so in here I think so. Now that's created. I think the article is created, and if I check this, so that's, if I say article, so this is the article. If I say article dot Slug, so we are not seeing a Slug, so let me just say article dot save, that should be saved in here. So this is my second title. Yeah, now the Slug is created. You can see that's automatically created, and because we don't have any user, and we don't need to add that user in here, and you can just directly, so we will add the user system in the later part of the course, but right now you can just create it like this. So if I say this is my third title, and if I just add author, so THO to the U, yeah, article got unexpected keyword argument author, because we don't have that. Okay, so we don't need to add author for right now, because we will create the author system and the user and author system, because for every article we should have an author. So if I hit enter, and if I say article dot save, and that's saved. If I see articles, this is my third title, and the Slug is created dynamically.
I think if you succeed, every mistakes become legendary. If you fail, that's just garbage.
The first thing we need to get started on our web API is to provide a way of serializing and deserializing the data instances into representations such as JSON. We can do this by declaring serializers that works very similar to Django's forms. There are different serializing types in Django REST framework that we will talk about these types. Now, the primary purpose of a serializer is to convert a Django model, or rather a database table, into a format that can be transferred over the internet, such as JSON output or an XML output. So now in here in the backend app, we need to create another Python file. So for the serializer, and I can just say Python file, and I can just say serializers.py. So we don't need to give .py because it will create that. Okay, so serializers. Now in the serializers, the first thing is that we need to just import the So from REST framework, so we can just say from REST framework we want to import serializers, and also because we need to serialize our model, then we need to just say from .models we need to import article model. Okay. As I've already said that there are different types of serializers that you can use, and we will work one by one. So now in here I can just say article serializer, so serializer, and after that we can just say serializers dot. Now you can see that we have model serializer or serializer. Now in this lesson we want to learn about the serializers dot serializer. Now if you're using this type of serializer, then you need to specify all the fields of your model explicitly by yourself. If you're familiar with the Django, so for example, when we create the forms, there are two types of forms. We had forms.form. Now, if you're using that type of the form, then you need to specify all the fields of your model that you want to create form for that. And the second was model form, and using this type, when you're going to use this type, you can just create your form according to the model. Now we have the same concept in here. So we have serializer and also we have model serializer. So in here, if we are using the serializer, then we need to specify all the fields of our model explicitly. So if you see in our model, we have title, description, slug, published, and we need to specify this. Okay. So now in here, first I can just say title, and I can just say serializers dot char field, and we can just give the max length to 200. After that we have description, so description, and for the description we can give serializers dot char field, and we don't need to give any length in here. Because if you see in our models, we have text field for the description, but in the serializers we don't have the text field, and instead we can use the char field. Okay, so if you don't specify the length, it will be act as a text field. After that we have slug, and I can just say serializers dot slug field, and also we can just give read only to true. Okay. Now we are setting this to true. So if you see in here, we are setting this to true. This is because we want to ensure that the field is used when serializing a representation, but is not used when creating or updating an instance during deserialization. Also, we need to give the published, so published, and in here I can just use serializers dot date time field, and I can just say read only to true. Okay. So now we have our article serializer. After that, we need to create our methods for creating and updating. Okay, so I can just say div create, and the create now it will create and return a new article instance given the validated data. Okay, so in here we can easily say return. So I can just say return article dot objects and dot create. Okay, and we can just say validated data. Okay, so this is for creating. After that we want to create another one for the update, and in the update it will update and return an existing article instance given the validated data. So in here I can just say instance dot title, and I can just say validated data dot get, and I can just say title instance, so dot title, and we can just copy this because we want to create for all fields. So this is description, article.description, we can just say description and description. Okay, after that we can just copy this for the we have slug, so a slug and a slug and a slug. Okay, and we have another field, and that is for the published. So instance.published, published, and also published. Okay, and at the end we can just say instance.save, and also we can just return the instance. Okay, so after doing that, we need to open the Django shell. So I can just open the terminal, and in here I can just say python manage.py. Let me just make it bigger. So python manage.py shell. So now in here, the first thing is that we need to import our, so from backend.models, we are going to import article. After that, from REST framework dot renderers, so renderers. From this we are going to import JSON renderer, so JSON renderer, and after that from REST framework dot parsers, so dot parsers, we are going to import JSON parser, so JSON parser. Okay, so now we can just say article, and I can just give title, and I can say Django REST framework, and after that I can just give the description, so description, and this is description. Okay, so after that we can just say a dot save. Okay, so now at this point, okay, so after saving in here, I can just say serializer, and I can just say article serializer, and in here we can pass a article serializer is not defined. Okay, we haven't imported that, or we haven't from backend. Okay, we need to import that. So from backend dot serializers import article serializer, and now I can just say serializer article serializer, and if I say serializer dot data, so at this point we have translated the model instance into Python native data types. Now to finalize the serialization process, we render the data into JSON. Okay, so right now this is just Python native data types. Okay, so now we need to just do our serialization process. So for that I can just say content, and I can just say JSON renderer, so renderer dot render, and in here I can just say serializer dot data, and after that if I say content, and now you can see that now this is converted to the this is serialized, the data is serialized. Also you can do the deserializations. The serialization is similar. So for example, first we parse a stream into Python native data types, and after that we want to do the process. Okay, so for example in here I can just say import IO, and after that I can just say stream and IO dot bytes IO, and in here I can pass my content, and now I can just say data. So this is the deserializations, and I can just say JSON parser dot parse this stream, and after doing that now we restore those native data types into fully populated object instances. So you can just say serializer and article serializer data, and after that I can say serializer dot is valid, so you can see that's true. And also I can just say serializer dot validated underscore data. So you can see that it's an ordered dictionary, and you can see that we have done some serialization process on our data.
So now what do you see on the slide in the back? Can you tell me? Impossible. Right. Okay, good. Now what do you all see? Awesome. And that's exactly what I want to share with you all. I turned the word impossible into I'm possible in my life.
In this lesson, we want to learn about another type of serializer that's called model serializer. Now, if you see in our serializers.py class, our this article serializer class is replicating a lot of information that's also contained in the article model. So for example, we have all fields in our model and we have written all fields in our article serializer. Now, it would be nice if we could keep our code a bit more concise and clean. In the same way that Django provides both form classes and model form classes, REST framework includes both serializer classes and also model serializer classes. Okay, so we already have learned about the serializer, serializers.serializer. So if you're using this way, you need to specify all the fields. Okay. Now, the model serializer class provides a shortcut that lets you automatically create a serializer class with fields that correspond to the model fields. Now, what I mean? So I'm going to just comment this because I will add this source code in the video, the source code of this project, and maybe you will work on this. So okay, so now up in here we are going to create our class article serializer. So let me just copy this in here, and this time instead of serializers.serializer we want to use model serializer. Okay, now the model serializer class is the same as a regular serializer class, except that it will automatically generate a set of fields for you based on the model. It will automatically generate validators for the serializer, such as unique together validators. Also, it includes a simple default implementation of .create and .update. So if you remember in here, when we have used the .serializer, we have just manually implemented the .create and also the update. But when you're using model serializer, you don't need to do this. Okay. So now we have our article serializer. Now in the article serializer, we are using model serializer. Now we can just specify our class meta, and in the class meta, you need to specify the model. So you need to specify that which model you want to serialize. Okay, so in here, in our case, we want to serialize our article model. So I can just say model, and the model is article. And after that, you need to specify the fields, which fields you want to serialize. So you can specifically, for example, add title, description, okay? So like this, okay? Or you can just say, for example, all the fields, and we can just say underscore underscore all fields, okay? So now let's just open our shell, Django shell, and in here I can just say from backend dot serializers, I'm going to import article serializer, and after that, if I say serializer and article serializer, and if I print the representation of the serializer, so now you can see that we have the representation, and now you can see that how easily we have serialized. Now you don't need to, for example, add all of these codes, and you can see that we have now in here we have just 3 or 4 lines of the codes, and using this model serializer, you can serialize your data.
Life can be heavy, especially if you try to carry it all at once. Part of growing up and moving into new chapters of your life is about catch and release. What I mean by that is knowing what things to keep and what things to release. You can't carry all things. Decide what is yours to hold and let the rest go.
In this lesson, we are going to write some view functions. Right now, we are not going to talk about REST framework features, but we want to use view functions from Django. So now in here, you can see we have our model serializer, and now we have our views.py file. Let's just open that, and in this section, what we want to do first, we want to just say from .models, we are going to import our article model, and also from .serializers, we are going to import article serializer. So also from REST framework .parsers, we are going to import JSON parser. Okay, so now let's just say div article list. So we want to just list the articles. So and I can just pass request in here, and now we want to get all articles. So get all articles in here. So right now we have some articles. Let me first write the code. So first I'm going to check that if request.method if that is get, and in that case what we want to do, we want to just get all the articles. So I can just say article.objects.all. okay, and after that, because we want to serialize now in here, what we need to do after getting the article, we need to serialize the data. And now let me just show you. So in here I can just say serializer, so serializer and article serializer, and I need to pass article. This is because a query set, we can just say articles, okay, because we will have more articles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 or 100 articles. Now also because we are serializing a query set, you need to add money to true. Okay, so money to true. Now if you're serializing just one data, you don't need to add this. If you are serializing a query set, now maybe you will, when you're using article.objects.all, maybe you will have 100 articles or 100 data. Now if you want to serialize that, you need to add money to true. Okay, and after that we can just say return JSON response. So we need to just import JSON response in here. So from django.http import JSON response, and I can just say return JSON response, and after that we can just say serializer.data and also save true false. Okay, now this is the if the method is get, and if the method is post. So we need to just write some code for posting the data. So post, in that case what we need to do, if request.method, so request.method is post. In that case what we want to do, we want to just say data, and we can just say JSON parser, and then here dot parse, and we can just pass request in here. After that we need to just say serializer article serializer, and we can pass data. After that we need to check that if serializer dot is valid, if we have a valid serializer. In that case what we want to do, we want to just save that, so serializer dot save, and also we need to just return a response. So I can just say JSON response, I want to just return the data, so serializer dot data, and also we need to give a status code. There are different status code. For example, for this we want to use 201. It means that the data is created or the data is posted. If the data is not created, or if the data is not posted, or if there was an error, we can just return JSON response, and I can just say serializer.error errors. I want to just add the error, and for the status I want to just use 400. Okay, so now we have our two we have our view function, that's article list. We have two methods, so we want to get the data and also we want to just post the data. So right now if I run this, so let me just run this, and if I go here and if I go to admin panel, so and the articles, you can see that I have some articles in here, some 4 articles. Okay, after doing that, we need to just bring changes to the urls.py file. Now we have one urls.py file in the main project. You can do that in here, you can just create your URLs in here, but now in Django it's a good idea to create the URLs for every app. For example, we have a backend app, we want to create a separate urls.py file in here, so URLs, and we can just write our URLs in here. Okay, so in here I can just say from Django .urls we are going to import path, and also from .views we are going to import our article list that we have created. Okay, so this article list that we have created, this is our view function. Now in here I can just see URL patterns, and I can just give the path, so this is an index path I can just say, and I can just add article list. Okay, this is my view function. So now after creating of this, now we need to add this to the main urls.py file because we have this in here. So for that we need to just import include, and after that we can just say path, and then the path, so for example you can just leave it like this, or you can just give it, for example, API. Let me just for right now leave it like this. Okay, and here I can just say include, and we need to give the name of the, so that's backend.urls. Okay, so right now if I refresh this and if I run this, so if I go here, so let me create a new tab. So articles got unexpected keyword argument money. It is in the views.py file. So serializer, serializer articles money to true .objects.all. Oh, sorry, this should be article serializer. Okay, so because we want to serialize the data. So now let's just save it, and now let's refresh it. Okay, so now you can see that we have the data in here, and we have all the data in this section, and that is working. Okay, if I just make it like this, so for example I can just API in here, and so now if I refresh this, you'll see that nothing happens because we need to just go to the API, and so API, and that is working. Okay, so now let me just for right now make it like this, but we will change that later. Okay, so now we have the data, but we cannot post the data using this. We need to just use Postman. For right now we are not going to talk about the browsable API of the Django REST framework. So let me open my Postman. So in here I need to just add this URL. So from here you can change this. For example, I want to get, if I send this, so right now you can see that we have our data in here. So these are the 4 articles that we have in our Django. Okay, so that is working. Now we want to post the data. So I want to create another tab in here, and I can just copy this, paste it in here. I want to change this to post, and now let me just copy this from here, and we can just go to body, and we can just go to the row, and from here we want to change this to JSON, and now in this section I can paste it. So we don't need the ID because that's auto created, and let me just say test by postman, and description I can just say postman. We don't need the Slug and publish date because they are auto created. So right now let me also copy this because I want to show you something. Okay, and we don't need this. Okay, so now this is post, and if I send this, so right now if you see in our views.py file we have code for posting. Okay, and now if I just run this, we are receiving an error. It's not working. And if I go here in the terminal, you can see that in here it's also not working and the data is not adding. Okay, now that's because we want to if we want to be able to post to this view from clients that would have a CSRF token, we need to mark the view as CSRF exempt. This isn't something that you will normally want to do, and REST framework views actually use more sensible behavior than this, but it will do for our purpose right now. So right now we will use that this way, but we will talk about in the later part of the course. But for example, right now, to like this, we cannot post this because we are posting the data and it is not working. And so you can see that CSR in here we are receiving, it's forbidden, and CSRF cookie is not set. Okay, so to post this, for right now we need to use CSRF exempt, and we need to import that. That's a decorator. So I can just say from Django dot views dot decorators dot CSRF. I'm going to import CSRF exempt. Okay, and now we can add this decorator. So in here I can just say like this. And also right now, if I save this again, or if I run it again, let me just run it again. And now if I run it again, it will not work again. It's telling that this field is required because the Slack field is required. And to solve this problem also, because it's auto created and we don't need to create the Slack manually, we need to just open our serializers.py file, and in the model serializer, and after before the class meta, in here I can just say Slack, and I can just say serializers.slack field. I can manually add that, and I can just say read only to true. Okay, so now let's save it, and now if I send this, and that's added, we have ID5 test by postman. And if I check my Django admin panel, so you can see that's added. And if I check the Slack, that is already created, and we have the Slack automatically. Okay, and if I, for example, get all the articles, you will see that I have ID5 also. So now we can see that we have our ID5 in here. Okay, so now we have the data. Now let's get the specific item. So now we want to work on, for example, getting the specific item, and also we're going to work on updating the data or deleting the articles. So right now, for example, if I want to get the article 5 from here, if I want to get that, and if I send this, we are not receiving because we don't have that code in here. So we're going to open our views.py file, and in here we want to just create another route. So I can just say like this, and I can just say diff article details, and I can just pass request, and I want to get the article according to the Slack. You can get that according to the ID, but I want to get that according to the Slack. Okay, so in here I can just say try, and in the try, first I need to just say article dot objects, so dot objects dot get, and in here I can just say Slack, and if we don't have that data, we can just say except article dot does not exist. Okay, and in this case we can just return HTTP response, and we need to just import that from, I think it is in here, yeah, HTTP response. we can just here return HTTP response, and we can give the status to 404. Okay, now in here we can check that if request dot method is get. In that case, I can just say serializer and article serializer, and I can pass article in here. So this article. Okay, now in here you can see that we in this section, if you remember in here we have used magnitude true, because in here we are serializing a query set, but in here, because that's one object, a specific object, so we don't need to add magnitude true. We can just directly do that. So now we can just return a JSON response. So JSON response, and I can just say serializer.data. Okay, and after that I can just say elif request.method is put. In that case, I can just say data JSON parser dot parse, and I want to parse the request. And after doing that, we can just say serializer article serializer, and we can pass article and also data to data. And now we can check that if serializer dot is valid. If the serializer is valid, in that case we can just say serializer dot save, and also we want to just return JSON response serializer dot data. Okay, so after updating the data, we want to just show the data, and if there was an error, we can just say return JSON response serializer dot errors, and also we want to just give the status code to 400. Okay, and the last one is elif request dot method is delete. So in this case we want to delete the article, so article dot delete, and we want to just return HTTP response, and we can just pass the status to 204. Okay, so now we are done with this. We need to just use this article details in our urls.py file, and so in here I can just use articles in here. So for example, like this, and in this section I can just say articles, and I can just say Slug. Okay, and I can pass article details. Okay, so now if I save this we need to just add a comment here, sorry, and there is no problem. We can just do it like this. So right now if I go here, we will receive an error because we need to just go to the articles, and now we have the articles in here. And now, for example, if you want to get the specific, we should see that, because, so for example, if I want to get the first one, so this we are going to get the articles according to the Slug. So page not found, did not match. So in here we need to add it like this, and let's save it. And now if I go here, yeah, now we can see. Okay, so now let's just try this using Postman. Okay, so now I want to get the ID 5, and if I send okay, so because that's not according to the ID, we have according to the Slug. So for example, if I just get all the articles, why we are seeing this error? Okay, so because we don't have this route, and that is articles. Okay, so now this is, for example, we want to just get the this 5 one, and let's just copy this, and let's just open another Postman, and that is this is by Postman, so we want to get according to the Slug, and I can just make it like this. And if I get this, send this. Okay, so now we have this. For example, we want to update this, and for this we can just change this to put, and I can just say updated. Oh, we cannot update in here, but we can update that in this section. So body, row, and JSON, and we can just paste it in here, so we don't need the ID, the published, and the Slug, because we don't need to update those. We want to just update the title, so for example updated, and I can just say that for the description this is also updated. Okay, and now if I send this, so you can see we are getting back the data in here, and that's because we have written in the update. So in the put, so for example, if the data is valid, we want to just return JSON response, the data serializer.data. Okay, and now that's updated. So if I get all the articles now, you will see that the 5th one is updated, this is updated, and this is updated. And if I go to Django admin panel, so articles, and this is updated. Okay, also you can delete that this one. So now we want to delete that one, we can just use delete, send, and let's delete it. So if I go here, you will see that I don't have that 5 one, so the ID 5 is deleted. And if I go in the Postman, and if I go articles, we don't have the ID 5.
Life is beautiful, but you have to accept the good and the bad as being beautiful. Because sometimes we don't understand, like, what is this thing? What is my purpose? Why am I here? Why do I have to go through this pain? Why do I have to go through this fear all the time? Why can't it just be peaceful all the time? Then it wouldn't be life. You know, we have to live life on life terms, not on our terms.
REST framework provides 2 wrappers you can use to write API views. Now we have the @API View Decorator now for working with function-based view, and also we have API View class for working with class-based views. Now these wrappers provide a few bits of functionality, such as making sure you receive request instances in your view, and adding context to response objects so that content negotiation can be performed. The wrappers also provide behaviors such as returning 405 method not allowed responses when appropriate, and handling any parse error exceptions that occur when accessing requests, data with malformed input. Also, the best thing about using decorator is this, that using these decorators in our function-based view, we can access to the browsable API view of Django. Now, having a web browsable API is a huge usability win, and makes developing and using your API much easier. It also dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for other developers wanting to inspect and work with your API. So now let's create our example. So right now you can see that this was our function-based views that we have created. Now instead of this up in here, we want to just use the decorators, the API view decorators. Because in here we are using function views, we are going to use @API View Decorator. Now you can just edit this code, but I want to just comment this code because you will need this code for working. So by this reason, I don't want to remove this code. And let me so now let's just paste it. Okay, so okay, so now it is commented. Okay, So now we are going to create our article list up in here. So I can just say div article list, and after that in here we need to use the API View Decorators. Now the first thing is that we need to import that, and I can just say from REST framework. So I can just say from REST framework dot decorators, we are going to import API View. And after that in here we can just say add API View, and in here we need to specify the methods. Okay, so we want to use the get method and also the post method. Okay, and after doing that, now let's check that if so for example we can check if request dot method as if that is get. So first we want to check the get. On that case we want to just get all the articles, so article dot objects dot all, and after doing that we need to serialize our article, and we can just say serializer and serializer, and I can just say article serializer. I need to pass we need to just make it articles because it's a query set, so I can just say articles, and also because we are serializing a query set we need to just add money to true. Okay, and after doing that we can just return a response. Now in here we are going to use response. We need to import that, so from REST framework dot response we are going to import the response. Okay, so I can just say return response, and in the response we want to just return the data, so serializer dot data. Okay, and elif, so we can check if the request dot method, if that is post. So in this case we want to just post the data, and I can just say serializer and article serializer, and I can just say data and request dot data, so I can get the data from the request. And after that we can check if serializer dot is valid. So if the serializer is valid, we want to just save, and we can just say serializer dot save, and also we want to just return response in here, and we can just say serializer dot data, the data itself, and also we want to use the status code, and we can just say status, and we need to just import the status, and up in here I can just say from REST framework we are going to import status. So in here I can just say status dot, and there are different status code that you can see. For example, in this case we want to use HTTP 201 created. Okay, and in the else case we can just return the response, and I can just say serializer dot errors, and we can give the status code, and I can just say status dot HTTP 400 bad request. Okay, so now right now we have created this, and we already have added our urls.py file, but in here cannot article details. Okay, because we haven't created the article details till now, and we are receiving the error from here. So right now let me just comment this, and so I'm going to just remove this because first let's just work on the article list. Okay, so now the functionality will be the same. So this is my postman. So for example, if I get all the articles, you can see that I can get all the articles, but I can post the article, and for example if I want to post an article, and we can just go to the body and row. So for example I can just say API View Decorator. Okay, and if I send this so we have an error. Okay, so when here we have an error and that's not found. So for the post, okay, that's because we need to just use articles in here. Okay, and let's send. Okay, so now the ID6 is added, the new ID, and if I send this, you can see that now I have the API View Decorator. Now for the details we cannot see, because for example if I check this one, So for example, if I copy the Slug in here, and for example, if I go here, because we haven't created the article details, by this reason it will not work. Okay. Okay, so now, as I've already said, so now if I refresh this, let me refresh this. Now you can see that we have a browsable API, and we have a nice browsable API that we can just get all the articles, and also we can post that. So for example, in here you can just copy this, and in here I can just paste it. So I can remove the ID, I can remove these two because they are created automatically, and so the description should be in here, but the Slack should be removed. And I can just say browsable API, so browsable API, and also this is browsable API, and if I just post this, okay, so expecting property name includes and what, I think so we need to just, I think, remove this, and if I say API View Decorator, or that's added, I think. So let me just copy this, and if I go to all articles, no, that's not added. Let's change this to, it was browsable API, so browsable API, and if I send this, let me copy this. We have error, and I think we need to just make it like this. So let's post. So again we have error. Or I need to just make it like this. I think, oh yeah, and here we need to add a comma, so let me just test this way, and let's post this. Detailed JSON parser error, expecting property name includes in a double quotes. So let me just go back to the article list, and let me just copy this one. So let me just say browsable API, and let me just say this is my browsable API, and let me just copy this. Okay, now that's added. Okay, so now we have ID7 browsable API. You can just use it like this, and I think before this I had a comma in here, and if you give comma in here or in here, it will give you error, so it will not add the data. Now the data is added. So now we can list the articles, and if you see in here the method, the allowed method, post get, we have post and also get methods. Okay, so let's just work on the article details. Okay, and let's just open our views.py file, and in here we have already commented that, and let me just copy this and paste it in here. So this is article details, and in the article details we can just say add API View Decorator, and we need to specify the methods. So in here we want to just use get and also put and also delete. Okay, so delete. So now we can just create our try block in here, and in the try, first we need to get the article according to the Slack. So I can just say article and article dot objects dot all, and we can just say Slack, not dot all but dot get. Okay, so dot get, and I can just say Slack according to the Slack. And after doing that, if we don't have the data, we can just say except article dot does not exist. Okay, so exist, and we can just return response, and I can just give the status code. So status, status dot http 404 not found. Okay, and now we can check if request dot method, if that is get. In that case, what we want to do, we can just say serializer article serializer, and we need to pass article, and we don't need to add many to true because we're not going to serialize any query set because there will be just one data. And after that, we can just return response, and I can just give, and the response I can just give the data. So serializer dot data, and lf lf request dot method is pot. So in this case, we want to just update the data. So I can just say serializer, and let me just copy and paste this. So article serializer. So in here we need to pass article, and after that we can just say data and request dot data. Okay, so we need to get the data from the request, and now we can check if serializer dot is valid. If we the serializer is valid, in that case we want to just say serializer dot save. We want to save, and we want to just return a response in here, and I can just say serializer dot data. Okay, and in the else case we can just return a response serializer dot errors. So dot errors, and we need to give the status code, and I can just say status dot http 400 bad request. Okay, and the last one is the deleting. So lf request dot method is delete. So in this case, what we want to do, we want to just delete the article. So article dot delete, and after that we can just return response. We can just say that no content. So status dot http 204, it means no content, and we don't have any content. Okay, so after doing that, we need to just use this. Now first we need to import that in our URLs because we already have removed that, and now we want to just create our path. And now let's just refresh this. Okay, so for example, if I want to get this article, so the first one, if I hit enter, now you can see that we have that one. So this is title, this article, and you can see that now the allowed methods are delete, get, put, and in here you can delete this or you can update this. So for example, if you want to update this, you can just copy this and you can paste it in here. We are going to remove the ID, the slug, and the publish date. So let me just hit this title app updated, description updated. Okay, so updated. So we need to just remove this, and now we can just put this, and now you can see that this is updated and this is updated. And if I go to the article list, you can see that this is updated. So for example, if I want to delete this, I can also delete this. So the ID one will be deleted. So delete, and if I go to the article list, you can see that we don't have ID one. Okay. Also, for example, if you want, you can use Postman, and this will be the same functionalities. And now you don't need to use Postman. Just in the authentication section, we will use Postman, but for other, this is good to use the browsable API. So for the Postman, if I go to this one, if I send, you can see that post not. Okay, so we want to get this. Okay, so now you can see that we have get this, and you can just, if you want, you can update that.
Love is lack of fear. Love is, if you're not afraid to not know things, and you're not afraid to have the patience to learn, that's coming from a place of compassion and love.
We have already saw that how we can use function-based API views. In this lesson, we are going to talk about class-based API views. We can also write our API views using class-based views rather than function-based views. As we will see, this is more powerful pattern that allows us to reuse common functionalities and helps us keep our code dry. It means don't repeat yourself. So now in here you can see that this is our function-based API view and it's working and there's no problem. We can just test our API. So but if you see, we are using a lot of codes in here. We are duplicating a lot of codes in here. Now it's not necessary. To remove these duplication of the codes, we can use the class-based API views. Now I'm going to just comment this in here. Now maybe sometimes in a project you will need this. I don't want to say that you cannot use this. You can just always use the class-based API views. But in some places, maybe you need to use function-based API views. But I will show you that how, for example, the class-based API views is more powerful than the function-based API views. So I'm going to just comment this. And after that in here, now we can just say class, and I can just say article list, okay? And in here we need to import that. So from REST framework dot views, I'm going to import API view, okay? And now in here we are extending from the API view, and in the API view now we can just use our get. So def get. We can just say get, and also we need to pass request, and here we want to just list all the articles. So I can just say articles and article dot objects dot all, and after doing that we need to just create our serializer and article serializer, and I need to pass articles in here and money to true because we are serializing a query set. And at the end we can just return our response in here, and we can just return our serializer.data. Now if you see the get method for in here, you can see that in here first we are checking and after that we are doing the job, and in here we can directly do that, okay? So this is get. After that we can just use the post, so def post, and we can pass request in here, and now in here we can just add the article serializer. We need to use the serializer data, and let me add the request correctly, and in here we can just remove this, and I can just say data request dot data, okay? And after doing that we can check if serializer dot is valid. In that case, what we want to do, we want to just say serializer dot save, and also we need to just return our response in here. We need to just return the data, so serializer.data, and also the status code. So I can just say status.http 201 created. And if there is an error, we can just return the response, and I can just return the serializer.errors, and also we need to just add the status code in here, and I can just say status.http 400 bad request, okay? So right now we have this. We are not going to write the article details for right now. Let's just change the urls.py because now we are using the class-based views. We need to bring some changes, so we can just comment this because you will use this, and I'm going to just comment this also, and I need to just import from .views. We are going to import article list, and now we can just create our new path in here. So let me just create that at the top. So and this is articles, and this should be article list, and I can just say dot as view, okay? So now let's just save it, and if you see in here we are not seeing any error, and if I refresh this, so now you can see that we have get post method and it's working. There is no problem. We can get all the articles. Now for example, if I want to post an article, I can do that. So let me just copy this and let me just paste it in here. I can remove the ID, I can remove the Slug, the publication date, and in here I can just say this is a class-based API view, and this is this I can just say this is description for class-based API views, and I can just remove this. Also we need to add this in here, if not we will receive an error like before. And now if I post this, you can see that this is added, okay? So this class-based ID8, and if I go to article list, you will see that I have ID 8 in here. Okay, so now you can see that how easily we have created our class-based views, and now you can see that we have less codes than the function-based API views. So now let's work on the article details. And so in here I can just say class article details, and this extends from the API view. And then here I can just say def get underscore object, and we can pass self in here and also Slug. So it should be get. Okay, not Slug but Slug. Okay, so now in here we can just use so in here what we want to get our object, and we can just say return article dot objects dot get, and we want to just get that according to the Slug. And the accept, we can just say article dot does not exist, and we can just raise an error in here, and we can just say HTTP. So let me just import that from Django dot HTTP. We have the HTTP. We are going to import HTTP 404. We want to just raise HTTP 404. Okay, now we want to create our get. So for example, for the single article, and in here I can just say def get. You can pass request and also Slug. So article and self dot get object, so we can use get object, and here we can pass the Slug. After that, we need to just say serializer. We need to create our article serializer, and in here we can pass our article. After doing that, we can just return a response in here, and we can just say serializer dot data. Okay, so this is for getting. After that, we want to just set if put for the updating. So request, and also I need to pass Slug in here, so Slug. So now in here I can just say article and self.get object. First I need to get the object according to the Slug, and after that we can just use our serializer. So let me just add that in here. I can pass the article, and also for the data I can just get that from request.data. And now we can check if serializer dot is valid. On that case, we want to just say serializer dot save, and also we want to just return response in here, and I want to just return the data, so serializer dot data in here, and if there was an error we can just return response, and I can just say serializer dot errors and the status code, so I can just say status status dot http 400 bad request. Okay, and the last one is delete, so the deleting the article request and also Slug, and I can just say article and self.get object. You can pass Slug in here, and after doing that we can just say article.delete. Okay, and we are going to just return response. We can just return the status code in here, so status dot http 204 no content. Okay, and after doing that, after creating of this, we need to change our urls.py file, and now I can just copy this, paste it in here. Also we need to just import article details. So this is articles. I can add a Slug in here, and also this is article details.asview. Okay, so now if I save this, and you can see that we are not seeing any error, and right now it's get post, and if I refresh this, okay, so if I go to, for example, article this one, so if I add the Slug the ID2, you can see that now we have the get put delete that we can do. Okay, so now we have a specific data. You can update this if you want. For example, I can just update this. I can remove this one, this one, this one, and I can just say, for example, updated. And if I just put, and you can see that that is updated. Also, you can delete this. So delete, delete, and that's deleted. And you will see that we don't have the ID2 in here.
Love isn't always easy. You have to work at love to enjoy it more, and I think with anything, like with the career you have, the more you work, the bigger the payoff, and it's the same with love.
One of the big wins of using class-based views is that it allows us to easily compose reusable bits of behavior. Now the create, retrieve, update, delete operations that we have been using so far are going to be pretty similar for any model backend API views we create. Those bits of common behavior are implemented in REST framework's Mixin classes. So right now you can see that this is our example, and in here we are going to use class-based API views. And right now also, if you see in here, we are using a lot of codes in here. But as I've already mentioned, that I'm not saying that, for example, you cannot use these, for example, these functionalities in a project. Maybe in a project you will need this kind of functionality, or in another project you will need, for example, using of the Mixins or both of them. And so now I'm going to just comment this, because in here I want to show you that how you can use Mixins, and using Mixins we will make the code lesser. So now first we want to just work on the article list. So I can just say class, so class article list, and in here the first thing is that we need to import Mixins, and let's just import that. And I can just say from REST framework import Mixins, and also so for right now we're going to import Mixins, and also from REST framework we are going to import Eduonix. Okay, so now in here we are going to use, so because this is article list and we want to list and also post the data, so in here we want to use the list model Mixin along with the create model Mixin. Okay, and for the generic we are going to use the generic API view, and I can just say generics.generic API view. Okay, so now first let me write the code, and after that I'll describe that. After that we need to specify the query set, and the query set is article.objects.all, and also we need to specify the serializer class. Now the serializer class is article serializer, and now we can just say def get. We can pass request in here, and also args and keyword arguments, so args, and I can just say self return, so we can just say return self dot list. Okay, and in here we can just pass request, and also let's just add this, and this is for the get, and let's just do for the post, and let me change this to the post, and in the post we can just use the create. Okay, so create. So now in here you can see that we are building our view using generic API view and adding an list model Mixin. So if you see, we are adding list model Mixin and also create model Mixin. Now the base class provides the core functionality, and the Mixin class provides the dot list and dot create, so dot list, and also dot create actions. We are then explicitly binding the get and post methods to the appropriate functions actions. Okay, so now this is our article list, and let's also write the article details, because I will test all of them. So I can just say class article details, so article details, and in the article details we can just use the Mixins. So Mixins dot retrieve, we have retrieve model Mixin, and also we have Mixins dot update model Mixin, and also we have Mixins dot destroy model Mixin, and also the generics dot generic API view. Okay, and we need to just use these two in here. So let me just copy this, and in this section we can just say article serializer. And also we need to so first let me just use the get. So in here let me copy this and paste it in this section. So we have the get request, we have request args and the co-args, and in here we can just say retrieve. So retrieve, and let's just copy this, and in here this is put, and this should be update, and the last one is for the deleting. Okay, so let me just say this should be delete. Okay, and I can just say this destroy. So now we have our code. Now it's similar. Again, we are using the generic API view class to provide the core functionality, and adding the Mixins to dot retrieve or dot update and dot destroy the model, the data. Okay, so now we have the data, and we don't need to bring any changes in here. And now if I refresh this, you can see that we have the data. And if I go to access, I can add a data if, for example, in here, so you can see we have title. This is the Mixin title. You can see that this form is changed. This is the Mixin description, and if I post this, you can see that that's added. This is the Mixin, and if I go to article list, I will have ID9 in here. And for example, if I get a specific article, you will see that we cannot get. And okay, now that's because by default it's using the ID. So for example, if I add ID9 in here, it's also not working, but it's telling that you need to add a lookup field in here, because if we want to fix this. So to fix this, we are going to just add in our views.py file and the article details in here, we can just add a lookup field, and we want to just say according to the Slug. So now if I save this and if I refresh this, we have this. Now you can just say updated and put, and you can see that that's updated. Or we can delete this, delete, and ID9 is deleted, and we don't have that.
Many people don't believe miracles. Miracles do happen. See, an ordinary bus conductor sharing a dais with the greatest living legends. It's a miracle. Miracles do happen.
In the previous lesson, we have learned that how you can use Mixins, and using the Mixin classes, we have rewritten the views to use slightly less code than before. But we can go one step further. REST framework provides a set of already Mixin generic views that we can use to trim down our views.py module even more. So right now, if you see, this is our coding that we already have talked about this. And I'm going to just comment this. Okay, so like this, and let's just do it in here. Okay, so now we are going to first we need to import the generics. So we already have the generics in here. Now we can just say class article list, and we can just say generics dot list create API view. So now it will list, and also it will create the articles for us. First, we need to specify the query set. So query set, and I can just say article dot objects dot all, and after that I need to specify the serializer class, and that's article serializer. So this is article list, and after that we can just say article details, and then here we can use generics dot retrieve update destroy API view. And we need to add a lookup field, so lookup field in here, so lookup field, and that is Slug, and also the query set is article dot objects dot all, and also we have the serializer class, and that is article serializer. Okay, and now our code is looking much clean and better. We have just 2 lines of codes for the classes. And if I save this, and now if I refresh this, you can see that we are seeing our result and there is no problem. Okay, so these are the articles. So for example, I can just say this is generic class-based view, and let's add this also, post, and you can see that's posted. And if I go to the article list, we have the 10th article, and now from here I can just get that according to the Slug, and I can just paste it in here. So now I can just use it. For example, if I want, I can update it, and that is updated, or if I want, I can delete that. So delete, the ID 10 will be deleted, and if I go to the article list, I don't have ID 10. So like this, you can use the generic class-based views.
My son, his name is Niall. I learned so much from this kid. The first and foremost thing is patience. How to be patient when you know that your mother cannot walk, when you know that your mother is different from the other women, when you know that your mother cannot go out and play with you. How to stay calm. He loves football. And when we got the very first football, he was 4 years old. He was super excited. I still remember he came in the room and he said, "Mom, let's play football." And he kept the ball in my feet. And he said, "Let's kick it." And that day I felt disabled. I said, "I cannot kick the ball." And I was down with the same face. He looked at me and he said, "Well, that's all right. Your legs are not working, but your hands do. Let's play catch the ball."
In this lesson, we want to talk about the view sets and also routers. Now, REST framework includes an abstraction for dealing with view sets that allows the developer to concentrate on modeling the state and interactions of the API and leave the URL construction to be handled automatically based on common conventions. Viewset classes are almost the same thing as a view classes, except that they provide operations such as retrieve or update and not method handlers such as get or put. A viewset class is only bound to a set of method handlers at the last moment when it's instantiated into a set of views. Now, typically by using a router class which handles the complexities of defining the URL count for you. Now, there are different view sets that you can use, and in here we are going to use Viewset. So let us just comment this again, and we want to just work on the Viewset. Okay, so in here I'm going to just say class article Viewset, and we need to just import the Viewset. So in here I can just say from REST framework import Viewsets. And in this section, as I've already said, that there are different view sets that you can use. For example, we have model view set. In the next lesson, we'll talk about this. But in this lesson, we want to just learn about the view set. Okay. And in here, we want, for example, list the data. So we can just pass list and also request. And first, I need to just say articles, and I need to get all the articles. So dot objects dot all. And after that, we need to just use the serializer, and I can just say article serializer, and I need to just pass articles in here and many to true. And after that, we need to just return response, and I can just say serializer dot data. Okay, and this is for listing. Now let's work on the create, and we can just pass request in here. So, and I can just say so let me just add the serializer in here first. And instead of this, we can just use data request dot data. Okay, so data request dot data. Okay, and after doing that, we can check if serializer dot is valid. If that is valid, we want to just say serializer dot save, and also we can just return a response in here. So serializer dot data, and also we need to add the status code, and I can just say status .http 201 created. Okay, so now In the else case, if there is an error, we can just return a response in here, and I can just say serializer.errors, and also I can just say status to status.http 400 bad request. Okay. Now let's map the view to the URLs. Now for that we are using Django REST framework routers because we are using Viewset classes rather than the view classes. We actually don't need to design the URL conf ourselves. Now the convention for writing app resources into views and URLs can be handled automatically using a router class. All we need to do is register the appropriate view sets with a router and let it do the rest. Okay, so also in here I'm going to just listing and creating. You can also do for the article details, but for this view set I'm not going to do that because I don't want to use that. And for example, if you want to do that, if you want to use, for example, retrieving or updating or deleting, also you can do that like this. I already have talked about this. Okay, so now in the urls.py file we need to bring some changes. Okay, so also I need to just comment this, and now from .views I'm going to import article view set. Also I'm going to just comment these two also, because we are going to use routers. Okay, now the first thing is that we need to import routers. So from REST framework .routers, I'm going to import default router, and after doing that, now we need to create our router in here, and I can just say default router. After that I need to register, so router.register, and I can just say articles, and after that I need to add article view set, and also I can give the base name. For example, for the base name I can just say articles. Okay, and after doing that, in the URL pattern now in here, so in this section I can just add path, and this should be like this, and after that I can just include, for example, router.urls. Okay, I need to just import include in here. Okay, so like this. So now let's just save it, and now let's just check it. So it's working, and you can see that the form has changed now. But right now, if I, for example, if I want to get a specific article, it will not work because we don't have that for this. You can see that it's not working, but we can list the articles, and also we can add an article. So for example, if you want to add another article, so I can just copy this and I can paste it in here. Let's remove these two, and also let's remove the published. And in here I can just say, for example, view sets and routers. So view sets and routers, and I can just post that, and you can see that's added, view sets and routers. And if I go to the API route, and you can see, and we have this in here, and that is working. So now also, for example, we have articles. If I give an API in here, or so if I refresh it, it's not working. We have API articles. Okay, so now it's good. We have API, after that articles, and now that's all working. And as I've already mentioned, that you can also use, for example, the retrieving or updating or deleting the data. But now it's working, and in here we have used the view set. In the next lesson we will talk about the model view set.
That if you think that your life is hard and you're giving up on that because you think your life is unfair, think again. Because when you think that way, you are being unfair to your own self.
We have already saw that how you can use view sets. Now let's talk about generic view sets. Now the generic view set class inherits from the generic API view and provides the default set of getObject, getQuerySet methods and other generic view-based behavior, but does not include any actions by default. In order to use generic view set class, you will override the class and either mix in the required mixin classes or define the action implementation explicitly. There are different mixins that you can use with generic view sets. For example, we have list model mixin, create model mixin, retrieve model mixin, update model mixin, and also destroy model mixin. So let's create our example. So now this is my example. Again, I'm going to just comment this, and from here Now, for example, if you're working on a project, maybe you will use from different view sets. By this reason, I'm showing you all of them for you. So now in here, I can just say class, and I can just use this article view set because we have registered this in the router. So now I can just say viewsets.generic viewset, and now we need to use the Mixins. So for example, Mixins.list model Mixin. We can use Mixins.create model Mixin, Mixins.retrieve model Mixin, and also we have Mixins.update model Mixin, and also Mixins.destroy model Mixin. Okay, and after that we can just specify the query set and article.objects.all, and the serializer class is article serializer. Okay, so now let's just save it, and now we can just refresh this, and that's working. There's no problem. Now you can right now you can see that we have just one class, and now it will do all of the job. So we can retrieve the articles, we can post an article. So this is generic view set, and we can post that. So you can see this is generic view set, and if I go here, if I go to the articles, and we have this generic view set, for example, if I get this specific article according to the Slug, it's working, it's not found. Okay, and because we need to add a lookup field in here, so lookup field Slug, and let's save it. And now if I refresh this, okay, so now you can see that we have that in here. We can update this, update it, and let's put, so that's updated, or we can delete this. So ID 12 will be deleted, so delete, and if I go to the API root, if I go here, and you can see that the ID 12 is deleted.
Always remember one thing. On the road to success, there is always we, not me. Do not think that you alone can achieve things. No. There's always another person who is standing behind you, maybe not coming on the forefront, but behind you, praying for you and supporting you. Never lose that. Never.
Now let's talk about the model view sets. Now the model view set class inherits from the generic API view and includes implementation for various actions by mixing and the behavior of the various mixin classes. Now the actions provided by the model viewset class are .list, .retrieve, .create, .update, .partial update, and also .destroy. Now let's create our example. So now in here I'm going to just comment this, and I'm going to use the model viewset in here instead of generic viewset. So in here I can just say class article, so I can just say class article viewset, and in here I can just say viewsets.model viewset, and I need to just specify the query set. Now the query set is article.objects.all, and also the serializer classes article serializer, and also the lookup field is for example Slug. Okay, so the lookup field is Slug. And now if I refresh this and if I check this, you can see that now we have the same result, but now we are using model viewset, and we have, even from this code, you can see that in here the line of codes are more because we are using Mixins, list model Mixin, create model Mixin, but in here using just model viewset we can access to all things. For example, we can create another one, so this is model viewset example, and let's just post that. So you can see that's added ID 13, and if I want I can just get the specific article and I can get that. I can just update this, so update it, and I can just say put, and that's updated, or I can delete this. So now ID 13 is deleted, and if I go to the article list and I don't have ID 13, and that is working. And also in here you can see that we have 200, and all things and all functionalities are working.
It is okay to be scared. It is okay to cry. Everything is okay, but giving up should not be an option. They always say that failure is not an option. Failure should be an option, because when you fail, you get up, and then you fail, and then you get up, and that keeps you going. That's how humans are strong.
In this lesson, we want to learn about authentication. So currently our API doesn't have any restriction on who can edit or delete articles, and everyone can edit or delete the articles. Now, authentication is the mechanism of associating an incoming request with a set of identifying credentials, such as the user the request came from or the token that it was signed with. So now, particularly in this lesson, we will focus on authentication mechanism. So now you can see that this is our API, and right now you can see that we don't have any logged in user. Everyone can, for example, add article or delete article or update article. Also, we don't have any author mechanism. And here what I want to create an author, a registered author for every article. Okay, so to do this, the first thing is that we need to bring some changes to our models.py file, because so first I'm going to delete this db.sqlite tree. So let me just delete this. If I can delete it from here. So if I stop this and delete. Okay, so now that is deleted. After that, in the migrations file, I'm going to just delete this file. Delete, okay. And now that is deleted. Okay. So now we are going to just open our models, and in here we are going to use the foreign key model relationship. So in here I can just say author. So I want to create another field, author, and I can just say models.foreign key, and I want to use the built-in user system of the Django. So there's a built-in system, as we already have saw that how we can create super user. So you can use that system. So now the first thing is that we need to import that. So now in here I can just import it like this from django.contrib.auth.models. We're going to import user, and in here we want to create a relationship between user and our articles. Okay, and also I want to give on delete and models.cascade. Now what it means that whenever I for example I remove an article, also I want to for example whenever I remove a user, also I want to remove all the articles. For example, I have a user at name of John. Now this user will be deleted by any reason, and this user will have some articles for 5 or 10 articles. Now by deleting of that user, I want to also delete all the articles that are related to that user. So by this reason, we are going to use on delete model.cascade. So here we are using foreign key. It means that a user can create multiple articles, 1 article, 2 articles, 3 articles, and every article is related to just one user. So a user can create multiple articles, and 1 article is related to just one user. Okay, so now this is our model, and our model is created. After doing this, we need to do our migrations, because we have removed our database and also migrations files. So now in here, I can just say Python manage .py, and I can just say make migrations. Okay, so now I've created model article, and after that I can just say Python manage .py migrate. So also we need to create a super user because we will use that. So Python manage.py create super user. So we can just give it like this. So there will be an email address and password. So now that is created. Now let's just run our project. our Django project. So this is our Django project. So now I can just go to that main panel, and then here I can just enter the super user. So I can just say give the password, and I can just log in. So now I'm logged in, I have my article, but right now I don't have any article because I have removed the database. So I can add article. Now you can see we have an author. Right now you can see that we have the default admin user in here. So for example, I can just say this is the new article, and this is the new description, and I can just add a Slug. So this is the new article. Now in here we cannot create dynamic Slug in the Django admin panel. So now I can just choose this as an author. If I save this, now that's saved. Okay. So right now I want just one article. Now I can just log out this because I will show you. So now I can just go to the API. So API articles, and right now I have just one article. So now the main point is this, that right now there's no authentication mechanism for this article. Right now you can see that now we have a registration system, and you can see that we have author, and we are using author for this. Okay. So now if you see the documentation of authentication, so you can see that this is the authentication of Django REST framework, and if I come down, there are different authentication. So we have basic authentication. Now this authentication schema uses HTTP basic authentication signed against a user username and password. Basic authentication is generally only appropriate for testing. Now it's not a good idea to use basic authentication in a production level. It's just good for the testing. Okay. So you can see it's they have a note in here. If you use basic authentication in production, you must ensure that your API is only available over HTTPS. You should also ensure that your API client will always request the username and password at login, and will never store those details in the persistent storage. Okay. So now for testing, if you're using basic authentication, there is no problem. You can use it, but it's not a good idea. Now the best authentication that we will use, so you can use token authentication, and also we have another authentication that's called session authentication. We will use both of these authentication. So now token authentication, if you see, the token authentication provided by Django REST framework is fairly simple implementation. For an implementation which allows more than one token per user, has some tighter security implementation details, and supports token expiry. Okay. Now this authentication schema uses a simple token-based HTTP authentication schema, and token authentication is appropriate for client-server setups such as native, desktop, and mobile clients. So for example, if you have a mobile application that, for example, that is connected to your backend REST API, then that's good to use token authentication. Or for example, you have a desktop application, then it's good to use token authentication. So now let me just talk about the session authentication, and after that we will set up this. So in the session authentication, now this authentication schema uses Django default session backend for the authentication, and session authentication is appropriate for AJAX clients that are running in the same session context as your website. Now in this we will have for example, our username and password. We can add that, and we can just log in through that. Okay. So now how we can implement these, for example, authentications, and how we can use them. Okay. So now if you come down in the basic authentication, so in the token authentication, now the first thing is that, for example, to use token authentication, we need to add this in the installed apps. Okay. So we can just open our settings.py file, and in here, so in this section we can just add REST framework.auth token, and after doing that, make sure to run manage.py migrate after changing your settings. Now the REST framework.auth token app provides Django database migrations. You will also need to create token for your users. So we'll create the token through the Django admin panel, but for right now, let me just stop this. So let me just open this now to stop that. And in here, the first thing is that we need to just migrate. So Python manage.py migrate. So after adding this token, we need to migrate. Okay. So now that is migrated, and now we need to create a manually token because so right now we have done this. We'll talk about this, so how you can create token. So now after adding that, now let's just go to the permission classes. Now how you can set the permissions, or let's just go to authentication. First we need to, let me just come down, and here I should see something. Yeah, okay. So now how we can add, now this is not in here. So okay, yeah, this is now we have installed the, for example, we have the token authentication and we have added that. Now how we can set up that to the setting.py file? Now there are two ways. The default authentication schema may be set globally. Now for example, if you want to set the authentication globally, then you can add this in your settings.py file. Now for example, if you are integrating this backend REST API with any frontend, then I recommend you to use this way. You can add that globally, and also you can use that inside your classes. For example, you can see that in here we are using the basic authentication. It's added, and also it's added the session authentication. So you can just copy this and you can add that in the settings.py file. Now this is the first way. Now the second way is that you can also set the authentication schema on per view or per view set basis. Okay, so in here you can see that it's added the authentication classes, and after that you can use that. Okay, so for example in here, first let me just use this way, and I can just copy this, and I'm going to just open. Okay, so I'm in the settings.py file. For example, in here I can just add this. Okay, now instead of this basic authentication, what we need to use token authentication. So first we need to use the token authentication, and after that we can just use session authentication. So now let me change this to token authentication. Okay, so this is the first way. Okay, so we have added this in here, the authentication schema. But right now, if it's running, let me just run this again. And right now, if I, for example, refresh my REST API, you can see that again I can access this, and I'm not receiving any warning. Even I can, for example, delete or update this. So for example, if I get this article according to the Slack, and if I do it like this, you can see that I can update this or I can delete this. Okay, so even though we have added this in here, but this is not the case. We cannot restrict our views just by adding the REST framework classes in here. So this is telling to Django that we are using these authentication mechanism, token authentication and also session authentication, but we have not restricted our view sets in here. So now if I go to the permission in here in the permission documentation, so how permissions are the so we have object level permission. Now how you can set these permissions? Now the default permission policy may be set globally, as we have done this globally. Also you can do this globally. For example, we have is authenticated permission, or we have REST framework allow any. So if you're using this one, then everyone can access to your view set. So if you add this in the settings.py file, then for example, for right now, if you see we have just one view set, maybe you will have 2, 3, or 5 view sets. If you add this in the settings.py file, then your all view sets will be restricted. Now in case you have all view sets and you want to restrict all the view sets, then it's good to use this way. But for example, if you have 5 view sets and you want to just restrict 2 of them, then it's good to use class-based, for example, permission policies. So I can just copy this, and so we have the REST framework in here. Let me just open the settings.py file, and in here I can just add this, okay, like this. So we have default permission classes, and right now it's as authenticated. Okay, so for example, if I refresh this right now, you can see that authentication credentials were not provided. Right now we don't have any login system in here, but I will show you. So for example, if I go to the Django admin panel and if I log in, you will see that now I can access this. So let me just go here and open the admin panel. So admin panel, so if I log in through my password and username, let's log in. Now if I refresh this, you can see that now I can access. You can see that in here because now I'm logged in. So if I log out from here and if I refresh this, I cannot access. and it's telling that authentication credentials were not provided. So now we have done this. For example, if I change this to this one, so for example, allow any, if I change this to allow any, and if I refresh this, so even though we are logged out, and if I refresh this, you can see that now we can access this because we have allow any. Now let's change back this to this. Okay, now this was the first way. Now the second way is, so for right now I'm going to just comment this, and for right now I'm going to just remove this because I will use this in my main class, but I will use this in the in here in the settings.py file globally. It's good to use globally because maybe I will create another course to, for example, integrate this project with the front end. On that time, this is good to use globally. Okay, so now for example, let's just do that in the views.py file. So right now we don't have any mechanism, and if I refresh this, I can access these articles, or for example, I can update or delete this. Now to add that in here, what you want to do, you can just add permission classes. Now for the permission class, we can use authentication classes. Now first we need to add the authentication classes. Now in the authentication class we need to use token authentication, but before that we need to just import that, and in here I can just say from REST framework dot authentication we are going to import, so authentication, we are going to import the token authentication. Okay, now we have used token authentication, and now we can just say token authentication, and if I save this and if I refresh this, right now nothing happens because we need to add the permission classes as we have done in here. And another thing that we need to add, and that is authenticated permission. And first we need to import from REST framework dot permissions, we are going to import as authenticated. Okay, and in here we can just say permission classes, so permission classes, and in the permission classes I can just say is authenticated. Okay, so let's save it, and now if I refresh this, I cannot access this. Okay, so now this was this way. Now what I want to just comment this one because I'm going to use that way. I want to just add this permission classes in here, and in the settings.py file I want to just uncomment this, and now if I save this, we will have the same result. Okay, now how we can log in this, let me just show you that how you can use a login system from the Django REST framework itself, because right now we don't have any, we cannot log in, even though we can log in through the, for example, Django admin panel, but we want that we should have a login system in here. Now to do that, we are going to just open our urls.py file. So we want to just add in the main urls.py file in here, and I can just say path, and so I can just say API auth, and let's just include, and I can just say REST framework, so REST framework.urls. Okay, so let's save it, and now if I refresh this, you can see now we have a login. Now if I click on the login, now we can log in through the user, so it will give us like this login system. If I log in, now I can access that article. If I want, I can update this, so update it, put, and you can see that's updated, and also I can delete this, so you can see logout. Now if I go to the article list, I have just one article. Okay, so for example I can add another one, so I can add another article, so I can just add description. Now you can see this is chosen by default author because we have this. Now we don't want to show the author in here. Now this is the case that we want to just describe in here. We don't need to show this author when we are adding, because we are logged in, that it should know that we want to, for example, we are the authenticated user. So if I post this now, it will be posted, and so right now, so let me just we have author one in here. Now let me just for right now, what I can do, we can just open our serializers.py file, and in here I can just say author and serializers dot string related field, and if I refresh this and if I save this, okay, so now you can see that we have the author name. Okay, so we will talk about this. Also you can see that that is removed from here, and also we have, now we don't have one ID, but we have author. Okay, so right now you can see we can add another one. This is Django REST framework, and I can paste it, post. So no, okay, backend article.author ID. So because we don't have that in here. Okay, so we cannot add article. If I go to the articles, now what we need in here, so this is our serializer. We have added this. Now in the views.py file, we need to implement. So I think this will be the problem. The create, and in here I can just say serializer.save, and after that I can just say author, and I can just make it to the request dot user. Okay, so request dot user. So we have self. Oh, it should be self.request. Okay, self.request.user. So now let me just save this, and now if I go here, if I refresh this, and if I add this, so this is Django REST framework, and I can just add it like this, post, and you can see that that is posted and we don't have any problem. Okay, so now we need to add this in here, and you can see now this is added by this author. If I go to the API root, and if I go here, you can see I have 3 articles. Now if I go to Django at main panel, if I create another user, so let's go here and at main, and in that users, I want just another user, for example test, and I can just give your password must contains at least 8 characters, so I can just say test at, or I can just say test 1 2 3 at, and test 1 2 3 at. If I save it, okay, so now that user is created. Let's give a first name. So for example, I can just leave it test. Okay, and I don't want to give any email address, and I can just save it. Okay, so now we have test user. Let's log out through this, and right now we are log out from there also. Now we can just log in through the test. Okay, so test, and I can just say test 1 2 3 at, and let's log in. Okay, so now we are logged in as a test. Now we can add another article. So this is added by test, and now let's just post this, and you can see that's added. Now the author is test, and if I go to the all articles API root, all articles, now this added by this author, this author, this author, but this is added by test author.
When you think your glass is half empty, come on, your glass is half full. It's all in here and here.
In the previous lesson, we have learned that how we can create authentication mechanism and how we can restrict our view sets from unauthorized users. And also we have used a login system from the Django REST framework that we can do. And we have used session authentication and also token authentication. Now, how we can test the token authentication? Now, let's just talk about this authentication. So right now you can see that this is our articles and we are authorized. If I, for example, log out from this, you can see that I cannot access. But if I log in through the, for example, the test user, and if I add, for example, my password in here, correct password, and if I log in, you can see that I can access the articles. But how we can do this using Postman? For example, if I want to access these articles, and in here, so if I get this, if I send this, you can see that we are seeing authentication credentials were not provided. And then here comes the token authentication. So for right now, we are going to create manually token. Now, if you remember, when we have added the frameworks in here, so the token and also session authentication, and also we have added the REST framework.auth token, and we have migrated our project. It has created a token table for us. Okay, so if I click on this, so let me log in through the main user. So now if I go to the token, right now I don't have any token, but if I go to the users, also for the users we don't have token. So let's just add tokens. So for example, first I want to add for this user, let's save it. We want to add manually token, so this token is created. Let's go to the token, add token, and also I want to add for the test user, save, and now we have 2 token for the 2 users. Okay, so let's just open the token. So now if I add, for example, this token in here, if I copy this, right now you can see that the authentication credentials were not provided, and I can just go to the headers, and in here I can just say authorization. So I can just say authorization, so authorization, and I can just add token. After that I can paste my token in here, and if I send this, you can see that now I can access the articles. For example, in here I can just post an article, for example, if I want. So I can just post. So right now you can see that this token is related to this test user. Now the article should be added by this test user. The author should be test user. So I can just go to the body, and in here I can just say row. So let's just copy this and change this to JSON, and I can paste it. Let's remove this. Let's remove the Slug, also author. We want just the title. So test user is adding article by Postman. Okay, and we want to just add the same for the description. Okay, and if I send this, you can see that the article is added and the author is test, and you can see that's working. If I get my all articles again, if I send this, and at the down you can see that test user is adding article and this added by test author. So if I use another, for example, token, so if I go to the authorization, so if I uncheck this and if I send this, you will see that authentication credentials were not provided. And if I check this, now we can access this. Now let's add another token. So this is related to this user, to the main user, super user, and I can change the token. So okay, so now if I send this, you can see that we can access, but let's check that we can post the article and it should be added by the this user, so this user. And I can just go to the body, so this, okay, let me change the name, so is user adding article, and if I send this, you can see that that is added. This is the author. Now if I get all the articles and if I come down, you can see that now we have this in here.
My education was never a means to my career. You know, it was something that I feel allowed me to really be who I am today. So I think that this world is a world where it is of extreme importance to have a sound understanding of who you are.
Our backend REST API is for right now prepared, but we have a problem. We don't have a registration mechanism. Now, how we can register a user? For example, if you're integrating this with a frontend like React.js, maybe you will have a login system that the users can log in through that frontend, and for example, the users will be registered in the Django REST framework backend. So particularly in this lesson, I want to show you that how you can do user registration and how you can create dynamically token. For example, and here we will need token. So how you can dynamically create token. To handle this functionality, we're going to use a library that's called djrestr. So now there was another library that was Django REST Auth Now that is deprecated because there is no update for that, and that will work with the Django 3, but with the Django 4, Django REST Auth is not working. And that way, this is the new one, and we need to just use this, and it's compatible with the Django 4. So I need to just install this, and I can just install DG REST Auth. So let's wait for the installation. After that, add DG REST Auth app to install the apps in your settings.py file. So after the installation, we need to just add this DG REST Auth. So okay, and now that is installing. So after that, we can just open our settings.py file, and we can just go app, and we need to, so you can see that after the token, we can just add this. So DG REST Auth. And after doing that, so you can see this project depends on Django REST Framework library. So install it if you haven't done it. Make sure also you have installed REST Framework and REST Framework.auth token. So we already have added these. After that, you need to add this in the urls.pattern. So I can just copy this, and I can just add this in my main urls.py file. So let me just add it. So we have DG REST Auth, and also we need to migrate the project according to this. So we can just, in here, I can just migrate that. So manage.py migrate. So now that is done. We don't have any migrate, so no migrations applied. Okay, you're good to go now. So if you want to use this optional, if you want, you can just use this, but for right now, okay, so also we need to use this. So for right now, it is running. If I go to this path, let's just go to this path. DG REST Auth. So okay, so it's not working. We have API auth. Okay, so also we need another thing. And that is these libraries. So if you want to enable a standard registration process, you'll need to install Django a lot also by using pip install like this. So we can just say pip install. Also we need this, so pip install, and let's just paste this. So Django a lot, and it's installing also in the settings.py file. After that, so now add Django contrib.site all lot content, and install apps in your Django settings.py file. So we have the contrib dot. So if you see in here, we have the contrib.auth or dot. We don't have the sites. We need to add all of them. So let me just copy all of them, and we will remove some of them. So that's installed. Yeah, we need to just use these libraries also, because we will need this for the registration. So we have allot.account, allot.social account if you're using registration. We have REST framework, and after that we need to just add the site ID 1 in here. So let me just add that, and after doing that, we have already added this. Also we need to add this. Okay, so we can just open the urls.py file. So we have the DG REST Auth. Now we are using the DG REST Auth registration. So now if I say migrate, okay, now the migrate is done. Okay, so we need to also add these in here. That's a part of the registration. So now we are done. This social authentication, we are not interested on that. So if I refresh this, so it's not working because we need to go here and so rest auth registration. Yeah, now you can see that now we can register a new user. So let me just say a new user, or we can just say test1 because it will be good. So test1 at gmail.com. So I can just give the password test1 post. So this password is too short, and you can see that this is too short. We need to give the good password. So I can just say test 1 2 3 at, we want to use the same password for all of them, post. Okay, the password is too similar to the username. Again, it should be not like this. So test1 at gmail.com, and let me just say 1 2 3. Okay, I think this should be good password. Okay, connection refused. Okay, so no connection because the target machine actively refused it, and that is because in here we need to add now it depends on the email verification and the authentication method. So now in the settings.py file we need to just add some attributes in here. So I can just say account, so account underscore email underscore verification, and I need to just make it to none. So none. Also I have account underscore authentication underscore method, and I can just make it to username, and also account underscore email underscore required, and I can just make it to false because I don't want the email. Okay, and the authentication method should be according to the username. So let's refresh this. Okay, so a user with that username already exists because now that's registered, and if I go to the users, you can see test1 is registered, and if I go to the token is dynamically created for that user. Now let's test it once more. So let me refresh this, continue. So I can just say test2 at Gmail, and I want to use the same password. Let's post. Okay, now you can see that is registered and this is the token. And if I go to the users, test2 is registered, and because we are logged in, it's telling like this. Oh, okay, so test2, and if I go to the tokens, now test token is created for the test2, and that is working. So for example, if I add an article through this test2, so this is the token, and I can just go here. So I can just go to the headers and the authorization. I can change this token to test2 token. Let's just get, I can get all the articles, but I want to post an article. So post body and test2 user. So test2 user, and if I just send this, you can see that's added, and we have the test2 author. And if I get that all articles, and we have the test2 article, so this is test2. But for example, if I disable the authorization, so the headers, and if I send this, you can see that authentication credentials were not provided, and if I send this, it's working. And now you can see that we have a registration system. Also, we have a dynamically token system that when we register a new user, it will create a token for that also in the token table.
My promise and commitment to all of you is that I will never be silenced, and we will continue band together to make strides, uniting for equality.
In this lesson, we want to learn about adding custom permissions. So right now you can see that we have our backend REST API, and that is created, and we have a login system, a registration system. The view sets are, for example, restricted, and for example, if I log out, I cannot access to these articles, or I cannot edit or delete this. But we have a problem in here. Now the problem is this. For example, I'm logged in as this user, and you can see that this article is added by this user, and this added by this user, this added by this user. For example, if we get the article, we can just delete or update this, and there is no problem, okay? Because this article is added by this user, and this article owns this user owns this article. He can delete or he can update his own article. But the problem is this, that now this user also can access. So access is not a problem. He can saw the article, but he can update or delete the article. For example, this is not added by this test author, this user. So this author is test. But if I go here, so if I go here and like this, you can see that now this user can update this or can delete this. Even this user doesn't know about this. This author doesn't know about his article that's deleted by this user. Now this is the problem. For example, if he say updated, and if he put this, and that's updated, even though this is not added by this user. Now to restrict this functionality, we need to just create a custom permission, okay? So now in my backend app.py, in here I want to create another Python file. So let me just create that, and I can just say permissions. So permissions.py, and in the permissions.py, first I need to just say from REST framework I want to import permission, and after that we can just say class as author, okay? So as author, and I can just say permissions dot base permission, and after that I can just say diff has object permission, and now in here we can check if request dot method in permission. So if request.method is in permissions.save methods, in that case we want to just return true. In the else case we can just say return obj.author, so author to request.user, so request.user, okay? Request.user, okay. So now we have our permissions. Now we can just open our views.py file. Now in the permission classes we have is authenticated. Alongside with the is authenticated, first we need to import this, and from dot permissions import is author, and we can just add is author in here, so in this section. And now if I save this and if I go here, so there's nothing changed in the functionality, but now I'm logged in as this user. So for example, if he open his article, and now he can see the delete button, and also he can update this. So for example, he can remove this updated, and he can put this, and also he can delete this, so delete his article. But for example, if now this user goes to the article that's not added by this, for example this one, and if I just choose this, so the Slug, and if I go here, and you can see he can see the article, but he cannot update or delete that, because this user now doesn't have permission to update or delete this. He can just see this article, but he is not able to delete or update this. Now this user can just delete or update his articles. So for example, if he check this one, I'll see he will not do. So you can see that he cannot do. Now if I logged out, and now if I log in through the, I think we have test2, and this was the password, and if I log in, okay, so now this user can see, update or delete this. So for example, now if this user, now we are logged in as a test2, if this user wants to delete or update this author article, if he go here, he cannot do this because he doesn't have any permission. But if he goes to his article, so now this is added by test2, if I open this, now he can update this. So for example, updated, update, and that is updated, or he can delete this.
Sometimes in life, to be successful, oftentimes, most of the time, you have to follow your instincts. You have to follow your gut.
And never, ever give up. You can change and you can move around, but never, ever give up.
So now we have created our backend REST API using Django REST framework and Python. Now it's time to deploy our REST API to Heroku. So now let's get started. So now the first thing is that we need to install a couple of things. Now the first thing is the white noise, and that's because anytime we push Django project to Heroku, it needs to run collect statics. You can disable that if you're not using the static folder. And also you can see the white noise that is you can see that with a couple of lines of config white noise allows your web app to serve its own static files. So first we need to just install this, even though we are not using any front end, but because if you've seen here, the Django REST framework uses the static files. We have some design for this, for the browsable API. By this reason, we need to just install this. Okay, so pip install white noise, and also, okay, now that's installed. And after that, we are going to just open our settings.py file. Now in the settings.py file, what we need to do, so in the static URLs in here, we can just say static. So static, and I can just say root and os.path dot join, and I can just say base dir and also static. Okay, so we need to import OS. So at the top and here, I can just say import OS. So import OS. So after doing that, after adding this static root os.path.join base dir, now we need to install another library that is G-Unicorn. So I can just say pip install G-Unicorn, and it will be installed. Okay, now that's also installed. After doing that, up in here, so in the my API, I can just say pip freeze requirements.txt, because Heroku will look for this file and it will install the required libraries. And now if you see in here, so requirements.txt is created, and you can see we're using Django 4.1. And after doing that, we need to just create a file in here. Let me create a file, and it should be, the name should be proc file. So proc file. Okay, so like this, uppercase PROCFILE. So proc file, hit enter. Okay, and then here we need to just say web G-Unicorn my API. So this is the project name, and after that WSGI. Okay, so my API WSGI. Okay, so after doing that, also when we have installed white noise, we need to add this. So you can see edit your settings.py file and add white noise to the middleware list above all other middleware apart from the Django security middleware. So we need to just add this bottom of the security middleware. So we can just open settings.py file, and we can just go at the top. So in the installed in the middlewares, we so like this. Okay, white noise. So after doing that, now what we need to just create a GitHub repo, because we want to push this to the GitHub. So click on new, and I can just say my rest, and you can give description. I want it should be private, and let's just create a repository. So that's created, and now in here, now the first thing is that we need to just say git init, and after doing that, what we need to just say git commit. Okay, so first I need to just say git add all, and now I can just say git commit first commit. I can just name it, and after that we can just say git branch, and now we can say it like this, paste it in here, and after doing that we need to push that so to the GitHub. Okay, so now that is pushed, and if I go to the code, so now the project is in here. After doing that, we need to just open Heroku, and in here we need to create a new app. So let's just click on this, and I can just say DJ, or I can just say block rest, and this name starts with okay, so block rest. Blog REST API, or I can just say blog API 1, 2, 3. This is not available. Django API, it's also not available. Django blog API, I don't know what is available, so let me check that. So this is available. Django blog API 1 is available. We want to choose this region, click on create app. So now that is created. After that, so there are different ways that you can use. You can use Heroku CLI or command line interface. We're using GitHub, and I can just click on this. After that, we can just say connect to GitHub. So now let me just sign in to my GitHub. So now we are connected to the GitHub. So after doing that, we need to search our repo. So it was my rest, and I can just search this, search. So this is my rest. Let's connect. And now also we want to enable automatic deploys. And now we can just deploy branch. Okay, so let's just wait, and it will deploy the branch. So let's wait, and it will take a little bit. So you can see it's doing its job, and it's installing the libraries, and okay, so now that's done. And if I view, so let's just wait, and you can see that now we are receiving an error that we need to invalidate HTTP post header, and we need to add, you may need to add this in the allowed hosts. So we need to just copy this, and we can just open our Django project, and then the settings.py file, and in here we need to add that like this. And after that we need to just do it like this, and we need to just make debug to false. Okay, now when you're deploying your project, you need to make the debugging to false. So now let me just deploy this back to the Heroku. So I can just say to the GitHub git add all, and after that I can just say so git add all, and I can just say second commit. So and after that we can just say git push issue origin. So now that's pushed, and if I check this, and if I check this, refresh this, you will see that that's pushed. And also we will see automatic deployment for this because we have enabled it. So let's just go to resource or overview, Yeah, you can see that the automatic deployment, and let's just wait, and it will automatically deploy this. So let's wait. Okay, now that's done. Let's just go, and not found because we need to just go to the API. After that, articles. Okay, so now we have our API articles, and authentication credentials were not provided because we are not the user. So let's just go here and let's just log in. So now we are logged in, and now you can see that that's deployed. And let's just say this is deployed to Heroku, and this is our description for Heroku deployment, and I can just post this. So that's added. This is the newly added, and we have that. You can register a new user. So what was the route for the new user? And if I go to urls.py file, this was the registration. So let me copy and paste it in here, and after that we can just use this. So this is the registration, and now we can just register a new user, and for example I can just say new user and new user at gmail.com. We can give 2 passwords, and let's post, and you can see we have token. And now if I go to that main panel, so let's just go to that main panel. So now let's just log in through that main panel, and I can just log in, and in the users you'll see that we have now a new user. So a new user that's created, and in the tokens you will see that new tokens created for the new user. Also you can test this using the Postman, and it will work. So for example, if I go here, and so for right now we don't have any token. So if I send request, so authentication credentials were not provided, and let's just go with the new user token, and I can just copy this, and let's just go to the headers, and I can just say authorization and token. Let's paste it and send. So now we have all the articles, and also you can post. So let's post body, and let's just say Postman by Heroku. We can just write something that should be good. So let's send. So that's added, and if I get, you will see that I have ID9. And if I go in here, so I have ID9, and also if I refresh this, you will see that I have ID9. So you can see that the ID9 is added.
I swore never to be silent whenever and wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented.
In the previous lesson, we have deployed our REST API to Heroku. Now it's time to migrate from SQLite to Postgres, because it's not good to use SQLite in a production level, because SQLite is just for testing and in development process. So we need to just migrate our Django REST framework project, our blog project, to Postgres. Now the best thing is this, that Heroku gives you the Postgres database. So if you go to Reval configuration, now you can see that we have a Postgres, and we can just copy this, And let's just go to the settings.py file, and I can just go to the, so where is it? Okay, so this is the databases, and let me paste it in here. Okay, but before that we need to install a library. Okay, so we need to install a library that's called the psycopy g2. So pip install, and I can just say psy cop g2, because if you're using Postgres database, then you need to install that. Okay, so that's installed. Now we can just say pip freeze requirements.txt. So requirements.txt. So pip freeze requirements.txt. And now so if you see our requirements.txt, now we should see that new library. Okay, so now let's just change this. Now the first thing is that we need to change this to Postgress, and after that, now the name is we need to give the name. So first, and let me just remove this, it's kindly confusing, and we can just find the name. So now the name is so we have one username and also one name, and the name is located in here. So this should be the name, and I can just copy this and I can just paste it in here. Okay, so after adding the name, we need another thing that is host. Okay, so I can just say host, and for the host we can just grab this one. So yeah, okay, so this one is the host. So this is the host. Okay, make sure that you don't create any wrong, for example, credentials in here. So now this should be the host in here. Okay, so after adding the host, we need the port. Okay, so in here I can just create another one, and that is the port. And the port, if you see in here, this is the port. Okay, this is the port, and I can just paste that in this section. And after doing that, we need to just add the user. So now the username is, so this should be the username, so this is the username. And also we need to add the password. So password, and the password is this long string is the password. So this is the password, and I can just copy this and paste it in here. Okay, so now we are done with this. After doing that, we need to migrate that. Okay, so I can just say python manage.py and migrate. So let's just wait, it will take a little bit. Now it's doing its job. Now we don't need the SQLite, and we can just remove this. We can just delete this, or if I can. Okay, now that's deleted. Okay, because we don't need that. Now we are using Postgres, and let's just wait for this. So let's just wait. Now it's creating all the tables in our Postgres database, and by this reason it will take a little bit. So let's wait. So after doing that, we need to create a super user because that's also removed. Python manage.py create super user because that was in the SQLite database and we have removed that, and this should be the username, and this should be, now this user will be created in the Postgres database. Right now we don't have any user, so we need to give a password. So now super user is created. After that we need to push this to the GitHub, so git add all, and after that git commit, and I can just say for example Postgres commit, and after doing that I can just say git push Heroku, git push Heroku main, okay, so we are not using Heroku. By this reason it's telling this. So if we're using, for example, Heroku Serialization, then you can just use it like this. Okay, so because we are not using that, we can just directly, so first let me just say git branch, so git branch main, so main, and after that, okay, so that's not needed, and I can just say git, so git push dash u and origin main. Okay, so we have a typo in here because it's telling that, but you didn't need that. You can directly do that and it will be pushed. And if I check, so now that's done, and if we go here, and it will be automatically deployed. So let's wait. Now the deployment is done. If I refresh this, you will see that I'm not seeing an article because all of them are removed and we shouldn't see. So authentication credentials were not provided. Let's just log in, and I can just log in through the super user that I have created for the Postgres, and I can just log in. And now we don't have any article. If I refresh this, you will see that in here also I am not seeing anything. Zero token, and if I go to the users, and now I have one user, that's super user, because now we have Postgres database and we don't have any SQLite database. Now let's just say this is for testing Postgres database, and I can just paste it in here, and let's just post, and you can see now we have one article and that is added. And now if I go and create another user, so let's just open the URLs, and if I go here, so also if you see articles, you will see that I have a new article in here. So if I go here, and now we can just say, for example, new user, so new user at gmail.com, and I can just give a password, and let's post. Okay, so now that's added and we have a token for this. And if you go to, for example, or let's just also create another user, so let's just go here again, and we can just create test at gmail.com. Let's post. and enter a valid email address. So you can see it's validating. So that's also added, and if I go to that main panel, so let's just log in. So if I go to the users, we have now 3 users, and in the tokens, I have 2 tokens. For the main user, I don't have token because I've created that was super user. And now that's working. And for example, if I sign out, log out from this user, and if I log in through the new user, so new user, and if I log in, and for example, I can just say, so this is new user, and so I can just post this, and you can see that's added by new user. And also we have the custom permission functionality. So for example, I'm now logged in as a new user. If I check this, I cannot update or delete this article because we are not eligible to do this. We don't have permission. And if I go here for the article that's added by this user, I can update or delete this. So for example, I can just say updated and put that is working. So all functionality is working. Also you can check this in the postman if you want. For example, in here we have the postman, and so this is, so for example, we want to get, so right now if I send this, we will receive an error, invalid token, because we don't have the token in here. And I can just get the token, so for example this token by the test token, and I can just now and here I can just remove this token. I can paste this token, and now why we are seeing invalid token. So send, so if I use another one, API articles, and if I get this, it's not working. Authentication credentials provided. If I go to the header, and I can just say authorization, after that token. Okay, I have wrongly copied the token. The B was not copied, and by this reason it was not working. So now we have this, and if I test it back on that, it will work, because in here I have forgot to add B, so in this section. And now we have all the articles. Okay, so you can post an article. So for example, new one with Postgress, and if I send this, if I change this to post, send, and that's added new one with Postgress. And if I get, you will see that we have that, so new one with Postgres. And also you can check that in here. So if I refresh this, if I go to the API root, articles, we have our all articles.